The room was dark, the air heavy with the smell of old wood and something sour I couldn't name. I was only 9, curled up in the corner of my grandfather's attic, my knees pulled tight to my chest. My heart pounded so loud I thought they'd hear it. My grandfather, his face twisted in a way I'd never seen before, stood over me. His 7 friends, men I'd known my whole life as neighbors and family friends, circled closer. Their eyes were strange, cold, like they weren't human anymore. On the day of my mother's death, they changed. They weren't the people I knew. They whispered things I didn't understand, their hands reaching for me, their voices low and cruel. I screamed, but no one came. The attic door was locked. I was trapped. My world, already broken from losing Mama, shattered into something I didn't recognize. I tried to fight, kicking and clawing, but I was so small and they were so many. Then something inside me snapped. I stopped crying. I stopped moving. My eyes locked on the attic window, where a sliver of moonlight slipped through the crack. I wasn't going to let them win. Not completely. I had a plan, a tiny spark of hope, but would it work? My name is Lily. I lived in a small town called Willow Creek, where everyone knew everyone, and secrets were supposed to stay buried. My life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Mama was my whole world. She had a laugh that could make the saddest day feel warm, and she always smelled like lavender from the soap she loved. She'd hug me tight every night and tell me stories about brave girls who fought dragons and saved kingdoms. "You're stronger than you know, Lily," she'd say, kissing my forehead. I believed her. I had to, because Papa left when I was 3, and it was just me, Mama, and sometimes Grandpa Joe, her dad, who lived in the big house at the edge of town. Willow Creek was quiet, the kind of place where people left their doors unlocked and kids played in the streets until the fireflies came out. Grandpa Joe was a tall man with a deep voice and a smile that made you feel safe. He'd take me fishing at the creek or let me help him fix things in his workshop. His friends, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Harris, Mr. Daniels, Mr. Carter, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Evans, and Mr. Parker, were always around. They'd sit on Grandpa's porch, laughing and drinking lemonade, telling stories about the old days. I thought they were kind. I thought they were family, but everything changed when Mama got sick. It started with a cough that wouldn't go away. Then she got tired, so tired she couldn't get out of bed some days. I'd sit by her side, holding her hand, telling her the stories she used to tell me. The doctor said it was cancer, a word that felt like a monster hiding under my bed. I didn't understand it, but I knew it was bad. Grandpa Joe was there a lot, helping with chores, bringing food, and sitting with Mama when I was at school. His friends came too, bringing casseroles or fixing things around the house. I thought they were helping because they loved Mama. I was wrong. The day Mama died was gray and cold, even though it was summer. I was at home, sitting on the couch, when Grandpa Joe came in. His face was different, like he was wearing a mask. "Lily," he said, his voice flat. "Your Mama's gone." I didn't cry at first. I just sat there, staring at the wall, waiting for Mama to walk through the door and say it was a mistake. But she didn't. The funeral was a blur, people in black, flowers everywhere, and words I didn't want to hear. I felt like I was underwater, everything muffled and far away. After the funeral, Grandpa Joe said I'd stay with him for a while. Our little house felt too empty without Mama, so I didn't argue. I packed my favorite stuffed bunny, Mr. Flops, and my clothes, and we went to his big, creaky house. It was old, with too many rooms and shadows that seemed to move when you weren't looking. I missed Mama so much it hurt to breathe, but I tried to be brave, like she always told me to be. The first few days at Grandpa's were quiet. He didn't talk much, and when he did, his voice was sharp, not like the warm Grandpa I knew. His friends came over every night, sitting in the living room, talking in low voices. I'd hear them through the floorboards when I was supposed to be asleep. They'd say things about Mama, about me, about plans. I didn't know what they meant, but it made my stomach twist. I'd hug Mr. Flops and whisper to him that everything would be okay. Even though I wasn't sure, one night, I heard footsteps outside my room. The door creaked open, and Grandpa Joe stood there, his shadow long and thin in the moonlight. "Lily," he said, "come downstairs. We need to talk." I didn't want to go. Something felt wrong, like the air was too thick. But he was my grandpa and Mama always said to listen to him. So I followed, clutching Mr. Flops tight. Downstairs, his friends were waiting. They weren't smiling like they usually did. Their faces were hard, their eyes sharp, like wolves watching a rabbit. Mr. Thompson, who used to give me candy at church, locked the front door. Mr. Harris, who taught me how to whistle, closed the curtains. My heart started to race. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice small. Grandpa Joe knelt in front of me, but his eyes weren't kind anymore. "You're special, Lily," he said. "Your mama was special too, but she didn't understand. We're going to make things right now." I didn't know what he meant, but I didn't like it. I backed away, but Mr. Daniels grabbed my arm. "Don't make this hard," he said, his voice low and mean. I tried to pull free, but they were too strong. They took me upstairs to the attic, a place I'd only been once before when Grandpa showed me old boxes of Mama's things. The attic was dusty, with a single bulb hanging from the ceiling and a small window that barely let in light. They pushed me inside, and the door slammed shut behind us. I was scared, more scared than I'd ever been, even when Mama was sick. I looked at Grandpa, hoping he'd say it was a game, but his face told me it wasn't. They started saying things, strange words that sounded like a chant. Their voices got louder, and their hands reached for me. I screamed, kicking and hitting, but it was like fighting a storm. There were too many of them. My grandfather, the man who'd carried me on his shoulders and told me I was his favorite, was the worst. His hands were rough, his voice cruel. The others laughed, their faces twisted into something ugly. I felt like I was breaking, like I'd disappear if I didn't do something, but then I saw it, the window. That tiny sliver of moonlight. It was like Mama was there, whispering, "You're stronger than you know." I stopped fighting. I went still, letting them think I'd given up. But inside, my mind was racing. I remembered something Mama told me about the attic, about a loose board near the window. If I could get there, maybe I could escape. Maybe I could find help. I just had to be smart, to wait for the right moment. They didn't notice me watching the window. They were too caught up in whatever they were doing, their voices rising, their hands pulling at me. I felt tears on my cheeks, but I didn't let myself sob. I had to be brave. For Mama. For me. I inched closer to the window, pretending to stumble, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. And then I saw my chance. Mr. Parker turned away, and I bolted, diving for the window. I reached it, my fingers scrabbling at the board Mama told me about. It was loose, just like she said. I yanked it free, and a gust of cool night air hit my face. Freedom was so close. But then, a hand grabbed my ankle, pulling me back. It was Grandpa Joe, his face red with anger. "You're not going anywhere," he shouted. The others closed in, their shadows swallowing the moonlight. I kicked, screamed, and held onto the window frame with all my strength. And then, something impossible happened. The window glowed, bright and warm, like Mama's smile. A voice, soft but strong, whispered in my ear, "Run, Lily. Now." I didn't know if it was real or if I was imagining it, but I listened. With one last kick, I broke free and climbed through the window, tumbling onto the roof. The night was dark, the stars bright above me. I could hear them shouting behind me, their footsteps thundering up the attic stairs. I had to move. I had to run. But where? And how? I was just a kid, alone in the dark, with nowhere safe to go. Or so I thought. Until I saw it, a light in the distance flickering like a beacon. It was coming from the old barn at the edge of Grandpa's property, a place I'd never been allowed to go. Something told me to run toward it. So I did, my bare feet slipping on the roof tiles, my heart racing with fear and hope. But as I reached the edge of the roof, ready to climb down, the attic window burst open behind me. Grandpa Joe's face appeared, his eyes wild. "Lily," he roared. "You can't escape us." And then something worse happened. The ground below the house started to shake, like the earth itself was angry. A crack split the lawn, and a strange, red light glowed from deep within. The air turned hot, and a low, rumbling sound filled the night. Whatever was happening, it was bigger than Grandpa and his friends. It was something dark, something evil, and I was caught right in the middle of it. The ground shook harder, the red light from the crack in the lawn pulsing like a heartbeat. I clung to the roof's edge, my fingers digging into the rough tiles. Grandpa Joe's face was still in the attic window, his eyes glowing with that same strange light from below. His friends crowded behind him, their voices mixing into a chant that made my skin crawl. I wanted to scream, to cry for Mama, but I remembered her words. "You're stronger than you know, Lily." I had to keep moving. The flickering light in the old barn was my only hope, so I scrambled down the side of the house, my bare feet slipping on the drain pipe. The ground rumbled again, and I hit the grass hard, rolling to a stop. Behind me, the attic window slammed shut, and I heard footsteps thundering inside. They were coming for me, and I ran, my heart pounding, the cold grass stinging my feet. The barn was farther than it looked, hidden behind a line of twisted trees. The red glow from the crack in the ground followed me, lighting up the night in a way that felt wrong, like the world was breaking apart. I didn't look back. I couldn't. If I did, I'd see Grandpa Joe and his friends, and I wasn't sure I'd have the courage to keep going. The barn grew closer, its wooden walls weathered and gray, the flickering light spilling out through a crack in the door. It looked safe, but what if it wasn't? What if it was a trap? I didn't have time to think. The chanting was louder now, closer, and I could hear Grandpa's voice above the others, calling my name. I reached the barn and shoved the door open, stumbling inside. The air smelled of hay and something sharp, like metal. The flickering light came from a single lantern hanging on a rusty nail, swinging gently as if someone had just touched it. The barn was empty except for stacks of old hay bales and a ladder leading to a loft. I froze, listening. The chanting stopped, but the silence was worse. It felt like the world was holding its breath. Then I heard it, a low, scraping sound, like something heavy being dragged across the ground outside. My stomach twisted. They were close, and I climbed the ladder to the loft, hoping I could hide. The wood creaked under my weight, and I prayed it wouldn't break. Up in the loft, I found a small window covered in dust. I wiped it clean and peeked out. The red glow was brighter now, spreading across the lawn like fire. Grandpa Joe and his friends stood in a circle around the crack, their faces lit up by that awful light. They weren't chanting anymore. They were staring at the ground, where the crack was growing wider, deeper. Something was moving inside it, something big. I couldn't see it clearly, but it made my chest tight with fear. What were they doing? What did they want with me? I crouched low, hugging Mr. Flops, my stuffed bunny, to my chest. I wished Mama was here. She'd know what to do. She always did. But all I had was myself and that tiny spark of hope that had gotten me out of the attic. I needed a plan. The barn wasn't safe for long. They'd find me soon. I scanned the loft, looking for anything I could use. There was an old pitchfork leaning against the wall, its prongs rusty but sharp. I grabbed it, my hands shaking. It was heavy, but it made me feel a little braver. If they came for me, I wouldn't go quietly. The scraping sound stopped, and I heard voices again, closer this time. I peeked through the window and saw Mr. Thompson and Mr. Harris walking toward the barn, their shadows long and twisted in the red light. "She's in there," Mr. Thompson said, his voice cold. "We can't let her get away." Mr. Harris nodded, pulling something from his pocket. It glinted in the light, a knife. My breath caught in my throat. They weren't just going to hurt me. They were going to do something worse. I backed away from the window, my mind racing. The ladder was the only way down, and they'd be here any second. I looked around the loft again, desperate. There was a pile of old blankets in the corner, half covered in cobwebs. Maybe I could hide under them. But then I noticed something else, a trapdoor in the floor, barely visible under the dust. My heart leapt. If it led somewhere, maybe I could escape. I ran to it, dropping the pitchfork to pull at the handle. It was stuck, rusted shut. I tugged harder, my fingers aching, but it wouldn't budge. The barn door creaked open below. "Lily," Mr. Thompson called, his voice soft and fake, like he was talking to a scared animal. "Come on out, sweetheart. We just want to talk." I bit my lip to keep from crying. I wasn't stupid. I knew what they wanted. I yanked at the trapdoor again, and this time it gave a little. I heard footsteps on the ladder now, slow and steady. They were coming up. I pulled with all my strength, and the trapdoor finally popped open, revealing a dark, narrow chute. I didn't know where it led, but it was my only chance, and I grabbed Mr. Flops and slid into the chute just as Mr. Harris's had appeared over the edge of the loft. "There," he shouted, lunging toward me. I kicked the trapdoor shut behind me and slid down, the walls of the chute scraping my arms. It was tight and dark, and I couldn't see where I was going. The air was damp, like dirt and mold, and I landed hard on something soft. Hay, maybe, or old sacks. I was in some kind of cellar under the barn. It was pitch black except for a faint glow coming from a crack in the wall. I crawled toward it, my hands shaking as I felt along the cold stone. Above me, I heard the trapdoor slam open and their voices, angry now. "She's down there," Mr. Thompson yelled. I had to move faster. The crack in the wall was just big enough for me to squeeze through. I pushed Mr. Flops through first, then wiggled after him, scraping my knees on the rough edges. I came out in a tunnel, long and narrow, with walls made of dirt and roots. The glow was stronger here, coming from somewhere deeper in the tunnel. It wasn't the red light from the crack outside. It was softer, golden, like the lantern in the barn, but warmer. It felt safe. I ran toward it, the voices behind me fading but not gone. The tunnel twisted and turned, and I kept expecting it to end, but it didn't. My legs burned, and my lungs felt like they'd burst, but I didn't stop. The golden light grew brighter, and soon I could see it, a small room at the end of the tunnel, lit by a single candle on a wooden table. There was something else in the room, something that made me freeze. It was a book, old and thick, with a leather cover that looked like it had been touched 1,000 times. It was open, and the pages glowed with that same golden light. I stepped closer, my heart pounding. The book felt important, like it was calling to me. I reached out, my fingers brushing the pages, and the light flared brighter. Words appeared, written in a language I didn't understand, but somehow I could read them. "The strength is within you," the words said. "Trust it." I didn't know what it meant, but it felt like Mama was speaking to me again. I wanted to keep reading, but the sound of footsteps echoed in the tunnel. They'd found the crack in the wall. They were coming. I grabbed the book, hugging it to my chest with Mr. Flops. There was another tunnel leading out of the room, and I ran toward it, the candle's light fading behind me. The footsteps were louder now, and I could hear Grandpa Joe's voice, not angry anymore, but something worse. Calm, like he knew he'd catch me. "Lily," he called, "you can't run forever." My heart raced. I didn't know where the tunnel led, but I had to keep going. The book felt warm in my arms, like it was alive, and I clung to it like it was my only friend. The tunnel sloped upward, and I saw a faint outline of a door ahead. I pushed it open and stumbled out into the night, the cold air hitting my face. I was in the woods behind Grandpa's house, far from the barn. The stars were bright above me, and the red glow from the crack was gone. For a moment, I thought I was safe. But then I heard it, a low, guttural growl, not human, not animal, coming from the trees. I turned, my eyes wide, and saw something moving in the shadows. It was tall, too tall, with eyes that glowed red like the crack in the ground. It wasn't Grandpa or his friends. It was something else, something worse, and it was coming for me. The growl from the shadows froze my blood. The thing in the trees was no man. It was too tall, its shape wrong, like a shadow stretched too far. Its red eyes burned through the dark, locked on me. I clutched the glowing book and Mr. Flops, my heart hammering so hard I thought it would break my ribs. The woods around me were silent, no crickets, no wind, just that awful growl and the pounding of my own pulse. Behind me, the tunnel door was still open, but I could hear Grandpa Joe and his friends getting closer, their voices sharp and angry. I was trapped between them and whatever this thing was. The book in my arms pulsed with warmth, like it was trying to tell me something, but I didn't know what. All I knew was I had to run. Again I bolted, my bare feet crunching on twigs, the book heavy against my chest. The growl turned into a roar, and I heard trees snapping behind me, like the thing was tearing through the forest. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The woods were thick, branches clawing at my face, but I kept going, dodging roots and rocks. The golden light from the book lit my path, faint but enough to see. It was like the book was helping me, guiding me somewhere. I didn't know where, but anywhere was better than here. The voices from the tunnel faded, but the thing was still behind me, its footsteps heavy, shaking the ground. I tripped over a root and fell, the book and Mr. Flops tumbling from my arms. I scrambled to grab them, my hands shaking. The book's pages fluttered open, and that same golden light spilled out, brighter now, showing words that seemed to float above the page. Fear is a chain. Break it. I stared, my breath catching. It was like Mama's voice in my head, telling me to be brave. I grabbed the book and Mr. Flops and got up, my legs wobbly, but moving that I ran until my lungs burned. The thing's roars getting closer, its breath hot and sour on the back of my neck. Then I saw it, a clearing in the woods, with a small cabin I'd never seen before. It was old, its windows dark, but there was a faint light inside, like a candle or a fire. It felt safe, like the barn had before everything went wrong. I didn't have a choice. I sprinted toward it, slamming into the door and pushing it open. I stumbled inside and slammed it shut, my hands fumbling for a lock. There was none. I pushed a chair against the door, knowing it wouldn't hold for long. The cabin was small, just one room with a fireplace, a table, and a single chair. A candle burned on the table, its flame steady despite the draft. I set the book and Mr. Flops down, my hands shaking so bad I could barely move. The growling stopped, but I heard something worse, silence. The kind of silence that makes your skin crawl, like something's watching, waiting. I peeked through a crack in the window. The thing was out there, standing just beyond the clearing, its red eyes glowing. It didn't move, didn't roar. It just stared, like it knew I couldn't hide forever. I turned back to the book, hoping it had answers. I opened it, and the pages glowed again, showing more words. The light is your shield. Trust it. I didn't understand, but the candle on the table flickered, its light growing brighter, warmer. It felt like the book and the candle were connected, like they were trying to protect me. I moved closer to the candle, holding the book tight. The air in the cabin felt different now, safer, like a hug from Mama. But then the door rattled, and I jumped. It wasn't the thing outside, it was Grandpa Joe's voice. "Lily, open the door," he said, his voice soft but cold, like a snake. "We're your family. We won't hurt you." I didn't believe him. Not after what they did in the attic. I backed away, clutching the book. The door rattled again, harder, and I heard the others, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Harris, all of them, whispering outside. They were surrounding the cabin. I was trapped again, that I looked at the book, desperate. The words changed, glowing brighter. "Speak your truth." I didn't know what it meant, but I remembered Mama saying that telling the truth could make you strong, even when you're scared. I took a deep breath and shouted, "You hurt me. You're not my family anymore." My voice shook, but it felt good, like I was taking something back. The rattling stopped, and for a moment, there was silence. Then Grandpa Joe laughed, a sound that made my stomach twist. "You think you can stop us?" he said. "You're nothing without us." The door shook again, harder, the chair sliding across the floor. I looked around the cabin, searching for a way out. There was a small trapdoor under the table, half hidden by a rug. I didn't know where it led, but it was my only chance. I grabbed the book and Mr. Flops and pulled the trapdoor open, revealing a ladder going down into darkness. The door to the cabin splintered, and I heard their footsteps inside. I climbed down the ladder, my hands slippery with sweat, and pulled the trapdoor shut behind me. The ladder led to another tunnel, this one colder, narrower. The book's glow was my only light, and I followed it, crawling through the dirt. The tunnel smelled like wet earth and something sharp, like metal or blood. I tried not to think about it. Above me, I heard them in the cabin, shouting my name. They'd find the trapdoor soon. I crawled faster, my knees scraping the ground, until the tunnel opened into a small cave. There was water dripping somewhere, and the air was thick with damp. In the center of the cave was a stone pedestal, and on it was a small box, carved with strange symbols that matched the ones in the book. I opened the box, my hands trembling. Inside was a tiny crystal, glowing with the same golden light as the book. It was warm, like it was alive, and when I touched it, I felt a jolt, like a spark running through me. The book's pages flipped on their own, showing new words. The crystal is your strength. Use it. I didn't know how, but I held it tight, feeling braver than I had all night. The voices were closer now, echoing down the tunnel. They'd found the trapdoor. I looked around the cave, searching for a way out. There was another tunnel, but it was smaller, barely big enough for me to fit. I stuffed the crystal in my pocket and crawled inside, the book and Mr. Flops tucked under my arm. The tunnel was tight, the walls pressing against me, but I kept going. The voices behind me were louder, angrier. "She's got it!" Grandpa Joe shouted. "Don't let her get away." I didn't know what it was, the book, the crystal, or something else, but I knew they wanted it bad. The tunnel ended at a wooden hatch. I pushed it open and climbed out, finding myself in a field I didn't recognize. The stars were still bright, but the air was colder now, and I could see my breath. The red glow from the crack in Grandpa's lawn was gone, but I wasn't safe yet. I could hear them behind me, their voices faint but coming closer. I ran again, the crystal warm in my pocket, the book heavy in my arms. The field stretched on forever, and I didn't know where I was going, but I trusted the light, like the book told me to. Then I saw it, a bridge in the distance, old and rickety, crossing a river I'd never seen before. It looked dangerous, but it was my only way out. I ran toward it, my legs aching, my heart pounding. The voices were closer now, and I could hear the thing from the woods again, its growl shaking the air. I reached the bridge and started across, the wood creaking under my feet. Halfway across, I heard a crack, and the bridge shook. I turned, my eyes wide, and saw it, the thing from the woods, standing at the edge of the bridge. Its red eyes locked on me, and it took a step forward, the wood splintering under its weight. Behind it, Grandpa Joe and his friends appeared, their faces lit by that same red glow. They weren't just chasing me anymore. They were working with the thing.
And it was coming for me.
The bridge swayed under my feet, the old wood groaning as the thing from the woods took another step. Its red eyes burned like fire, and its shape, tall, twisted, like a shadow come to life, made my stomach churn. Behind it, Grandpa Joe and his friends stood at the edge of the bridge, their faces glowing with that same eerie red light from the crack in the lawn. They weren't shouting anymore. They just watched, their smiles cold and wrong, like they knew something I didn't. I clutched the glowing book, Mr. Flops, and the crystal in my pocket, my heart racing. The bridge creaked again, and I knew it wouldn't hold much longer. I had to move, but the thing was blocking my way back, and the river below roared, dark and fast. I was trapped, and the only way out was forward, across a bridge that might collapse under me. I took a step, then another, my bare feet slipping on the damp wood. The thing growled, a sound that shook my bones, and lunged forward. The bridge snapped, a plank breaking under its weight, and I screamed, stumbling back. The book in my arms glowed brighter, its light warm against my chest, and I heard that voice again, soft like Mama's. "Keep going, Lily. Don't stop." I didn't know if it was the book, the crystal, or just my imagination, but it gave me strength. I turned and ran, the bridge shaking with every step, the thing's roars echoing behind me. I could hear Grandpa Joe's voice now, calm and cruel. "You can't run forever, Lily. You belong to us." I reached the other side just as another plank cracked, the bridge sagging dangerously. I didn't stop. The field beyond was wide and open, dotted with tall grass and patches of wildflowers, but there was nowhere to hide. The stars above were bright, but the red glow from the thing followed me, lighting the ground like blood. I ran, my lungs burning, the book heavy in my arms. The crystal in my pocket felt warmer now, almost hot, like it was trying to tell me something. I didn't know what, but I trusted it like the book said. The light is your shield. I held on to that thought, letting it push me forward. The growling faded, and I risked a glance back. The thing was stuck on the bridge, its massive form too heavy for the weak wood. Grandpa Joe and his friends were trying to cross, but the bridge was crumbling, planks falling into the river below. For a moment I thought I was safe. But then the thing roared again, and the ground shook, just like it had back at Grandpa's house. The red glow spread, and I saw it, a new crack splitting the field, glowing with that same awful light. Something was wrong with this place, with the world. It wasn't just Grandpa and his friends. It was something bigger, something dark, and I was caught in it. I kept running, the grass cutting my feet, until I saw a shape in the distance, a small house, not like the cabin, but older, with a sagging roof and windows boarded up. It didn't look safe, but it was better than the open field. I reached the door and pushed it open, the hinges screaming. Inside, the air was dusty and cold, smelling of mildew and forgotten things. The book's glow lit the room, showing cobwebs and broken furniture. There was a staircase in the corner, leading up to a second floor, and a door at the back, half open, leading to a basement. I didn't want to go down there, but I heard the things growl again, closer now. They'd crossed the bridge. I ran to the staircase, my feet pounding on the creaky steps. Upstairs was a long hallway with 3 doors, all closed. I picked one at random and slipped inside, closing it quietly behind me. The room was small, with a single bed, a dresser, and a window covered by a tattered curtain. I crouched under the bed, hugging the book and Mr. Flops, trying to breathe quietly. The crystal in my pocket was burning now, not painful but strong, like it was alive. I pulled it out, and it glowed brighter, matching the book's light. The book's pages fluttered, showing new words. The truth sets you free. Speak it. I whispered. I'm scared, but I won't let them win. I'm stronger than they think. It felt silly, but saying it out loud made me feel braver, like I was fighting back. The house shook, and I heard footsteps downstairs, slow, heavy, not human. The thing was inside. I could hear Grandpa Joe's voice too, talking to his friends, their words muffled but sharp. She's here, he said. Find her. My heart raced. I needed a plan. The room had no way out except the door I'd come through, and the window was too high to jump. I looked at the book again, hoping for answers. The pages turned on their own, showing a picture. A girl, small like me, holding a crystal and standing in a circle of light. She looked brave, unafraid. The words below said, "The circle protects. Make it." I didn't know what it meant, but I trusted the book. I pushed the bed aside, clearing a space on the floor. Using my finger, I traced a circle in the dust, just like in the picture. The crystal glowed brighter, and the book's light spread, filling the circle with a golden glow. I stepped inside, holding Mr. Flops and the book, and whispered, "Please, keep me safe." The air around me felt warm, like a blanket, and for the first time that night, I felt a little less afraid. But then the door burst open, and Mr. Thompson stood there, his face twisted with anger. "There you are," he growled, stepping toward me. The golden light flared, and he stopped, like he'd hit a wall. His eyes widened, and he shouted for the others. "She's got the book. And the crystal." I heard more footsteps, and Grandpa Joe appeared, his face red with rage. "Give it to us, Lily," he said. "You don't know what you're doing." I shook my head, clutching the book tighter. "You hurt me," I said, my voice shaking but strong. "You're not my family anymore." The thing's growl filled the house, and the floor shook. The red light from outside seeped through the window, mixing with the golden glow of my circle. Grandpa Joe's friends crowded the doorway, their eyes glowing red, just like the things. They weren't human anymore, not completely. The book's pages flipped again, showing new words. The crystal burns the dark. Use it. I held the crystal up, not sure what to do, but trusting the book. The golden light shot out, hitting Mr. Thompson. He screamed, stumbling back, his face twisting like he was in pain. The others backed away, but the thing's growl was louder now, and I heard it climbing the stairs. The golden circle flickered, like it was weakening. I didn't know how long it would hold. I looked around the room, desperate for a way out. The window was my only chance, but it was high, and the drop could hurt me. Then I saw it, a rope tied to the bed frame, hidden under the mattress. I grabbed it, tying one end to the dresser and throwing the other out the window. The thing's footsteps were on the stairs now, its red eyes glowing through the crack in the door. I climbed onto the windowsill, the rope shaking in my hands. The golden circle was fading, and Grandpa Joe was pushing through, his hand reaching for me. I didn't think. I just jumped, sliding down the rope, the book and Mr. Flops tucked under one arm. I hit the ground hard, my knees buckling, but I was okay. The house loomed above me, the red light pouring from the windows. The thing roared, and I saw its shadow in the doorway, bigger than before. I ran, the crystal burning in my pocket, the book glowing in my arms. I didn't know where I was going, but the field stretched on, leading to a hill in the distance. At the top was a tree, old and gnarled, glowing with a faint golden light, like the book and the crystal. It felt important, like it was calling me. But then the ground shook again, and the red crack reappeared, splitting the field in front of me. The thing burst from the house, its red eyes locked on me, and behind it, Grandpa Joe and his friends ran, their faces twisted with rage. But something else was happening. The crack in the ground widened, and a hand, massive and clawed, reached out, pulling itself up. It wasn't the thing from the woods. It was something worse, something ancient, and it wanted me. The massive clawed hand rose from the crack in the ground, its fingers black and twisted, like burned branches. The red glow pulsed brighter, and the air turned thick with a smell like ash and rot. I stood frozen in the field, the glowing book pressed against my chest, Mr. Flops dangling from my arm, and the crystal burning in my pocket. The thing from the woods was behind me, its red eyes blazing, and Grandpa Joe with his 7 friends were closing in, their faces lit by that same awful glow. But this new thing, this monster climbing out of the earth, was worse. It was bigger, its shape barely human, with a face that wasn't a face, just a mess of shadows and teeth. It roared, a sound that made my ears hurt and my knees shake. I wanted to scream, to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The golden tree on the hill was so close, its light calling me, but I was trapped between monsters and men, and I didn't know if I could make it. The book in my arms glowed brighter, its warmth spreading through me, like Mama's hand on my shoulder. I remembered the words from before. The crystal burns the dark. Use it. I pulled the crystal from my pocket, its golden light so bright it hurt my eyes. The monster from the crack paused, its shadowed face turning toward me. It hissed, a sound like steam escaping, and took a step closer, the ground shaking under its weight. Grandpa Joe shouted, "Give us the crystal, Lily. It's not yours." His voice was desperate now, not calm anymore, and his friends moved closer, their hands reaching out. I held the crystal up, my hands shaking. "Stay back," I yelled, my voice small but fierce. The crystal's light flared, a beam of gold shooting out, hitting the monster. It screamed, a horrible sound that made my head throb, and stumbled back, its clawed hand covering its face. The red glow from the crack dimmed, just a little, and I felt a spark of hope. The book's pages flipped on their own, showing new words. "The tree is your sanctuary. Reach it." I looked at the hill, the golden tree glowing brighter, like a beacon. I had to get there, and I ran, my feet pounding the grass, the crystal and book glowing in my hands. The thing from the woods roared and charged, its heavy steps shaking the ground. Grandpa Joe and his friends were running too, shouting my name, their voices mixing with the monster's hisses. The crack in the ground widened, and I heard more claws scraping, like something else was trying to climb out. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The hill was steep, the grass slippery, but I kept going, my lungs burning, my heart racing. The golden tree was so close now, its light warm and safe, like Mama's hug. Halfway up the hill, I tripped, my knee hitting a rock. The book slipped from my arms, landing open in the grass. The crystal rolled out of my hand, its light flickering. I scrambled to grab them, but Mr. Harris was faster. He lunged, his hand closing around the crystal. "Got it," he shouted, his face twisted with a grin that wasn't human. I screamed, reaching for the crystal, but he held it high, the golden light dimming in his grip. Grandpa Joe and the others caught up, surrounding me. The monster from the crack was closer now, its shadowed form looming over the hill, and the thing from the woods was at the bottom, its red eyes locked on me. "You can't win, Lily," Grandpa Joe said, his voice soft but cruel. "Give us the book, and we'll let you go." I didn't believe him. I remembered what they did in the attic, how they hurt me, how they changed. They weren't my family anymore. I grabbed the book, hugging it tight, and backed toward the tree. The crystal was gone, but the book still glowed, its pages fluttering. "You're stronger than them," the words said. "Fight." I didn't know how to fight, not really. I was just a kid, small and scared. But I remembered Mama's stories, how the brave girls never gave up, even when things seemed impossible. I stood straighter, holding the book like a shield. "You're not getting it," I said, my voice shaking but loud. "You hurt me. You hurt Mama. I won't let you win." Grandpa Joe's smile faded, and his eyes glowed red, just like the monster's. He stepped closer, but the book's light flared, pushing him back. His friends hissed, their faces twisting, like they were becoming something else. The monster from the crack roared again, and the ground shook so hard I almost fell. The thing from the woods was climbing the hill now, its claws tearing up the grass. I was running out of time. I turned and sprinted toward the tree, the book's light guiding me. The golden glow wrapped around me, like a blanket, and I felt stronger, braver. I reached the tree and touched its trunk, the bark warm under my fingers. The light exploded, a wave of gold washing over the hill, and the monsters screamed, their voices fading. Grandpa Joe and his friends fell back, shielding their eyes. For a moment, I thought I was safe. The tree's light was like a wall, keeping them out. I sat under its branches, hugging the book and Mr. Flops, catching my breath. The crystal was gone, but the book was still with me, its pages open to a new message. The sanctuary holds secrets. Find them. I looked around, confused. The tree was huge, its roots twisting into the ground, but I didn't see anything special. Then I noticed a hole in the trunk, just big enough for my hand. I reached inside, my fingers brushing something cold and smooth, a key, old and heavy, with the same symbols as the book. I pulled it out, my heart racing. The key glowed faintly, like the crystal had, and I felt a spark of hope. Maybe this was what the book meant. Maybe the key could help me. But then the ground shook again, and the golden light flickered. The monster from the crack was closer, its claws digging into the hill, and Grandpa Joe was on his feet, holding the crystal. Its light was dim now, but he was smiling, his eyes redder than before. "You can't hide, Lily," he said. "The dark always wins." The thing from the woods reached the tree, a single claw touching the edge of the golden light. The light sparked like it was fighting back, but it was weakening. I clutched the key, my mind racing. The book's pages flipped again, showing a picture of a door, hidden in the roots of a tree. I looked down and saw it, a small door, carved into the base of the trunk, barely visible. The key fit, I was sure of it. I crawled toward it, my hand shaking, and slid the key into the lock. It clicked, and the door opened, revealing a staircase going down into the dark. I didn't want to go. The dark scared me, and I didn't know what was down there. But the monsters were closing in, and the golden light was fading fast. I grabbed Mr. Flops and the book and slipped through the door, pulling it shut behind me. The staircase was narrow, the air cold and damp. The book's glow lit my way, but it was dimmer now, like it was tired. I heard the monsters roaring above, their claws scraping the tree. The door shook, but it held for now. The staircase led to a small room, carved from stone, with walls covered in symbols like the ones in the book. In the center was a pedestal, and on it was a mirror, old and cracked, its frame glowing faintly. The book's pages opened, showing new words. See the truth. Face it. I stepped closer, my reflection staring back at me. But it wasn't just me. Mama was there, in the mirror, her face soft and sad. "Lily," she whispered, her voice clear now, not just in my head. "You're so brave. Keep going." Tears stung my eyes. "Mama, I'm scared," I said. "What do I do?" Her reflection smiled, and the mirror glowed brighter. "Trust yourself," she said. "The light is in you." The book's glow flared, and the mirror showed something else, a vision of the field, the monsters, and Grandpa Joe, all connected by their red glow. They weren't just chasing me. They were part of something bigger, something evil, and the crystal was the key to it all. The door above me splintered, and the monster's claw reached through, its red eyes glowing in the dark. The golden light from the book and the mirror flared, pushing it back, but I knew it wouldn't last. I had to move. The room had another door, hidden behind the pedestal. I ran to it, the book and key in my hands, and pushed it open. It led to another tunnel, this one wider, with a faint golden light at the end. I ran, the monster's roars echoing behind me, Mama's voice in my heart. But as I reached the end of the tunnel, the ground shook, and the walls cracked. The red glow was back, seeping through the stone, and a new sound filled the air, a laugh, deep and cold, like nothing I'd ever heard. It wasn't Grandpa Joe or the monsters. It was something else, something that made my blood run cold. The tunnel opened into a cavern, and there, in the center, was a throne made of black stone, glowing with red light. And sitting on it was a figure, tall and cloaked, its eyes burning with the same red glow.
It was waiting for me.
Hey, brave viewers. I hope you're loving Lily's suspenseful journey as much as I am. If you're hooked and want to keep following her fight against the darkness, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single chapter. And drop a comment below to let me know where you're watching from, whether it's a cozy corner at home or somewhere totally unexpected. I'd love to hear. Your support keeps this story going, so let's stay connected. The figure on the black stone throne stared down at me, its red eyes glowing like twin fires in the cavern's gloom. Its cloak moved like smoke, curling around a body that wasn't quite human, too tall and thin, with hands that ended in sharp, claw-like fingers. The air felt heavy, like a storm was about to break, and the red light pulsing from the throne made my skin crawl. I stood at the edge of the cavern, clutching the glowing book and Mr. Flops, the key still in my pocket. The golden light from the book was dim now, flickering like a candle about to go out. Behind me, the tunnel shook, the monster's roars echoing closer, and I could hear Grandpa Joe and his friends shouting my name. I was trapped again, caught between the thing on the throne and the ones chasing me. My heart pounded, but Mama's voice in my head whispered, "You're stronger than you know, Lily." I had to believe her, or I wouldn't make it out of this alive. The figure on the throne leaned forward, its voice a hiss that cut through the air. "Give me the book, child," it said, each word sharp like a knife. "It belongs to the dark." I shook my head, stepping back, the book clutched tighter to my chest. Its light flared just a little, like it was trying to protect me. The figure laughed, a sound that made my stomach twist. "You think you can fight me?" it said. "You're nothing. A scared little girl." Its words stung, but I remembered the mirror, Mama's face, and the words in the book. See the truth. Face it. I wasn't nothing. I was Lily, and I wasn't giving up. I held the book up, its pages fluttering open on their own. The golden light grew brighter, pushing back the red glow from the throne. The figure hissed, shielding its eyes, and I felt a spark of hope. The key in my pocket warmed, matching the book's light. I didn't know what it unlocked, but it felt important, like it was part of the fight. The figure stood, its cloak swirling, and the cavern shook, rocks falling from the ceiling. "You can't stop what's coming," it said, raising a clawed hand. The red light flared, and I felt a pull, like the book was being tugged from my arms. I held on tighter, my feet sliding on the stone floor. The tunnel behind me rumbled, and the monster from the crack burst through, its shadowed form filling the entrance. Grandpa Joe and his friends were right behind it, their eyes glowing red, their faces twisted into something cruel. "Lily, stop this." Grandpa Joe shouted, his voice not his own anymore. "Give us the book, and we'll let you live." I didn't believe him. Not after the attic, not after everything. The book's light flared again, and I saw words on the page. "The key opens the way. Find it." I glanced around the cavern, desperate. The walls were carved with the same symbols as the book, and in the corner, half hidden by shadows, was a stone door, its lock glowing faintly with golden light. I ran toward it, the book's light guiding me, but the figure on the throne moved faster. It appeared in front of me, blocking my path, its claws reaching for the book. I ducked, sliding under its arm, my knees scraping the stone. The monster roared, charging toward me, and Grandpa Joe's friends spread out, trying to surround me. I reached the door, my hands shaking as I pulled the key from my pocket. It fit perfectly, the lock clicking as I turned it. The door glowed, golden light spilling out, and I pushed it open, stumbling into a narrow passage. I slammed it shut behind me, hearing the figures hiss and the monsters roar on the other side. The passage was cold, the air damp and heavy. The book's light was my only guide, its glow dim but steady. The walls were smooth, like they'd been carved by hand, and the symbols glowed faintly, pulsing with the book's light. I ran, my bare feet slapping the stone, Mr. Flops bouncing in my arms. The passage twisted and turned, and I kept expecting it to end, but it didn't. The sounds behind me faded, but I knew they'd find a way through. They always did. The key was warm in my hand, and the book's pages fluttered, showing new words. "The heart holds the power. Trust it." I didn't know what it meant, but it felt like Mama talking to me again. I kept running, the passage sloping upward now, the air getting colder. My legs ached, and my lungs burned, but I didn't stop. The golden light led me to a small chamber, its walls covered in mirrors, each one reflecting the book's glow. In the center was a stone table, and on it was a small, golden box, carved with the same symbols. My heart raced. This was what the key was for, I was sure of it. I slid the key into the lock, and the box opened, revealing a tiny, glowing orb like a miniature sun. It pulsed with warmth, brighter than the crystal, brighter than the book. I reached for it, but the chamber shook, and the mirrors cracked. The red glow was back, seeping through the walls, and I heard the figure's voice, closer now. "You can't keep it from me," it hissed. The monster's roar followed, and I heard Grandpa Joe's voice, shouting orders to his friends. They'd broken through the door. I grabbed the orb, its light so bright it hurt my eyes, and stuffed it into my pocket with the key. The book's pages flipped, showing a picture of a girl, me, holding the orb, standing in a circle of light. The words below said, "The orb is the heart. Protect it." I looked around, panic rising. The chamber had no other exits, just the mirrors and the passage I'd come through. The red glow was stronger now, and I could hear footsteps, heavy and fast. I didn't know what to do, but the book's light flared, and one of the mirrors glowed brighter, like it was a door. I ran to it, pressing my hand against the glass. It was warm, and it rippled like water. I didn't think. I just stepped through, the book and Mr. Flops in my arms, the orb burning in my pocket. I came out in a forest, not like the one behind Grandpa's house, but brighter, with trees that glowed faintly, their leaves shimmering like gold. The air was warm, and the ground was soft, like moss. The book's light steadied, and the orb in my pocket pulsed, matching my heartbeat. For a moment, I felt safe, like I'd found a place where the monsters couldn't reach me. But then the mirror behind me cracked, and the red glow spilled through. The figure's voice echoed, cold and sharp. "You can't hide, child. The heart belongs to me." I ran again, the forest blurring around me. The trees seemed to move, their branches guiding me, their light keeping the red glow at bay. The book's pages fluttered, showing new words. "The forest protects the brave. Keep going." I trusted it, letting the golden light lead me. The forest opened into a clearing, and in the center was a fountain, its water glowing with the same light as the orb. I approached it, my hand shaking. The water was clear, but it reflected Mama's face, just like the mirror had. Lily, she whispered, her voice soft but strong. You're almost there. Don't give up. Tears stung my eyes, but I nodded. I won't, Mama, I said. The orb in my pocket glowed brighter, and the fountain's light flared, like it was welcoming me. I felt stronger, like the forest, and the orb were giving me courage. But then the ground shook, and the red glow broke through the trees. The figure was there, its cloak swirling, its red eyes locked on me. The monster from the crack was behind it, and Grandpa Joe and his friends were with them. Their faces twisted, their eyes glowing red. They weren't human anymore, not at all. The fountain's light flared, and the orb in my pocket burned, like it was ready to fight. I held it up, its light joining the fountain's, creating a wall of gold. The figure hissed, stepping back, but it didn't stop. It raised its clawed hand, and the red glow surged, cracking the ground beneath the fountain. The water stopped flowing, and the light flickered. Mama's face faded, and I felt a pang of fear. The book's pages flipped, showing one last message. The heart must shine. Release it. I didn't know what it meant, but I trusted the book. I held the orb tighter, its light pulsing with my heartbeat. The figure lunged, its claws reaching for me, and the monster roared, shaking the forest. Grandpa Joe shouted, "It's over, Lily." But it wasn't. I closed my eyes, picturing Mama smile, and threw the orb into the fountain. The light exploded, blinding and warm, and the figure screamed, its cloak burning away. The monster fell back, and Grandpa Joe and his friends collapsed, their red eyes fading. But the ground shook harder, and the fountain cracked, the golden light fading. The figure was gone, but something worse was coming, a shadow, bigger than anything I'd seen, rising from the crack in the ground. Its voice filled the air, deep and cold. You've only delayed me, child. And then the forest went dark. The forest plunged into darkness, the golden light from the fountain snuffed out like a candle in a storm. The shadow rising from the crack in the ground was massive, its form swallowing the stars above. It wasn't like the figure on the throne or the monster from the crack. It was bigger, darker, like a hole in the world. Its voice, deep and cold, echoed in my bones. You've only delayed me, child, it said, each word heavy, like it was pressing me into the ground. I stood frozen, clutching the book and Mr. Flops, the key still in my pocket. The orb was gone, thrown into the fountain, and its light had faded. Grandpa Joe and his friends were sprawled on the ground, their red eyes dim, but I could hear them stirring, their voices muttering. The shadow loomed closer, its edges shifting like smoke, and I felt smaller than ever. But Mama's words rang in my head. You're stronger than you know, Lily. I had to keep fighting, even if I didn't know how. The book in my arms flickered, its glow weak but still there. I opened it, desperate for help, and the pages fluttered, showing new words. The dark fears the heart's truth. Speak it. I didn't know what truth it meant, but I remembered the mirror, Mama's face, and how saying what I felt made me stronger. I took a shaky breath, my voice barely a whisper. I'm not afraid of you, I said, looking at the shadow. It wasn't true. I was terrified, but saying it made me feel braver. The shadow paused, its edges rippling, like it was surprised. The book's light flared, just a little, and I felt the key in my pocket warm again. Grandpa Joe's voice cut through the dark. Lily, stop this, he shouted, his voice hoarse but angry. He was on his feet now, his friends staggering up behind him. Their eyes weren't glowing anymore, but they still looked wrong, their faces twisted with something I didn't understand. You don't know what you're doing, he said, stepping closer. Give us the book, and this can end. I shook my head, backing toward the fountain. The shadow loomed over us all, its presence heavy, like it was feeding on their anger. I clutched the book tighter, its light pulsing with my heartbeat. The shadow laughed, a sound that made my skin crawl. You can't stop me, it said. The heart is mine. I didn't know what it meant by the heart, but I thought of the orb, the fountain, and the golden light that had burned the figure away. Maybe the heart wasn't just the orb. Mama's voice, the book, the key. I had to trust it, like the book said. I looked at the fountain. It's cracked stone dark now, and saw something glinting in the dry basin, a shard of the orb, still glowing faintly. I ran to it, dodging Grandpa Joe's outstretched hand, and grabbed the shard. It was warm, like the crystal had been, and its light flared when I touched it. The shadow roared, and the ground shook, the crack widening. I held the shard up, its golden light cutting through the dark. The shadow recoiled, its form shrinking just a little, and Grandpa Joe and his friends froze, their faces pale. The book's pages flipped, showing a picture of a girl, me, holding a shard of light, standing in a circle. The words below said, "The shard is the spark. Ignite it." I didn't know how, but I remembered the circle I'd made before, how it protected me. I knelt, using the shard to trace a circle in the dirt around me. The golden light spread, forming a glowing ring, and the shadow hissed, pulling back. Grandpa Joe lunged, his hand breaking through the circle's edge, but the light sparked, burning his skin. He screamed, stumbling back, and his friends hesitated, their eyes wide. The shadow's voice boomed. "You think a spark can stop me?" it said. "I am eternal." But the book's light grew stronger, and the shard in my hand pulsed, like it was alive. I stood in the circle, holding the shard and the book, and shouted, "You're not stronger than me." My voice echoed, louder than I expected, and the shadow flinched, its edges fraying. The forest shook, and the trees around us glowed again, their golden light joining mine. It was like the forest was fighting with me, pushing back the dark. I felt Mama's presence, not just in my head but all around me, like she was standing beside me. The shard burned brighter, and I held it up, its light merging with the book's. The shadow screamed, a sound that made my ears ring, and the crack in the ground began to close, the red glow fading. Grandpa Joe and his friends fell to their knees, their faces twisted with pain, like the shadow was losing its hold on them. For a moment, I thought I'd won. The shadow was shrinking, the forest's light growing stronger. But then the ground shook again, and the shadow's eyes flared, redder than ever. "You can't destroy me," it said, its voice quieter but sharper, like a blade. It raised a hand, and the air turned cold, the golden light flickering. The circle around me wavered, and I felt a tug, like the shard was being pulled from my hand. I held on tighter, my knuckles white, but the shadow was strong, stronger than anything I'd faced. The book's pages flipped, showing new words. "The spark needs fuel. Give it your heart." I didn't understand at first, but then I remembered Mama's stories, how the bravest girls gave everything to protect what they loved. I thought of her smile, her laugh, and how she'd want me to keep fighting, no matter what. I pressed the shard to my chest, right over my heart, and whispered, "I'm doing this for you, Mama." The shard flared, its light blinding, and the circle around me glowed brighter than ever. The shadow screamed, its form breaking apart, pieces of it dissolving into the air. Grandpa Joe and his friends collapsed, their bodies still, their eyes closed. The forest was quiet again, the crack in the ground gone, the red glow vanished. I fell to my knees, exhausted, the shard still glowing in my hand, the book open at my side. The trees around me shimmered, their light soft and warm, like a hug. I felt safe, but I knew it wasn't over. The shadow was weaker, but it wasn't gone. Its voice echoed in my head, faint but clear. "I'll return, child." I stood, my legs shaky, and looked at the book. Its pages were blank now, the glow dim but steady. The shard in my hand was smaller, like it had used up some of its power. I tucked it into my pocket with the key, picked up Mr. Flops, and started walking. The forest guided me, its trees parting to show a path. I didn't know where it led, but I trusted the light. The air was warmer now, the stars brighter, and I felt Mama's presence, like she was walking with me. The path led to a clearing, smaller than the one with the fountain, with a single tree in the center. It was different from the others, its bark white and smooth, its leaves glowing like moonlight. At its base was a small door, just like the one in the golden tree. The key in my pocket warmed, and I knew it was meant for this. I knelt, sliding the key into the lock, and the door opened, revealing a staircase going up, not down. The book's light flared, and new words appeared. The light leads home. Follow it. I climbed the stairs, the air getting lighter, the glow brighter. The staircase ended at a wooden platform, high above the forest, with a view of the stars stretching forever. In the center was a stone altar, and on it was a lantern, its flame golden and steady. The book's pages flipped, showing a picture of me placing the shard in the lantern. I hesitated, not wanting to let it go, but I trusted the book. I set the shard in the lantern, and its light exploded, filling the platform with warmth. The forest below glowed, the trees singing a soft, humming song. Like a lullaby, I sat by the lantern, hugging Mr. Flops, feeling safe for the first time in what felt like forever. The book was quiet now, its glow soft, like it was resting. I thought of Mama, her smile, and how she'd be proud of me. But then the platform shook, and the lantern's light flickered. A cold wind blew, carrying the shadow's voice, faint but clear. "You can't keep the light forever," it said. The forest below went dark, and a new crack split the ground, red light pouring out. Something was climbing out, not the shadow, but something new, taller, with wings like torn cloth and eyes that burned white. It looked at me, and I knew the fight wasn't over. The creature emerging from the crack in the ground was unlike anything I'd seen before. It was taller than the shadow, its body thin and jagged, like broken glass. Its wings, tattered and gray, fluttered like torn cloth, and its white-hot eyes burned into me, making my skin prickle. The platform shook under my feet, the lantern's golden light flickering as the creature's presence sucked the warmth from the air. I stood frozen, clutching the book and Mr. Flops, the key in my pocket still warm but not enough to stop the fear creeping into my chest. The forest below was dark, the glowing trees dim, and the red crack pulsed like a wound in the earth. The creature's voice hissed, sharp and cold. "The light is weak, child. You cannot hold it." I wanted to run, to hide, but the platform was high above the forest, and there was nowhere to go. Mama's words echoed in my head. "You're stronger than you know, Lily." I had to believe her. Even now, with this new monster staring me down, the book in my arms glowed faintly, its light struggling against the creature's white eyes. I opened it, my hands shaking, and the pages fluttered, showing new words. "The lantern is your anchor. Protect it." I glanced at the lantern on the stone altar, its flame small but steady, the shard I'd placed inside glowing softly. The creature's wings twitched, and it took a step closer, the platform creaking under its weight. The air turned colder, and I could see my breath, like frost in the night. I stepped in front of the lantern, holding the book like a shield. "You're not getting it," I said, my voice small but firm. The creature laughed, a sound like breaking ice, and raised a clawed hand. The red crack below pulsed brighter, and I heard voices, Grandpa Joe and his friends, climbing the stairs to the platform. "Lily, stop fighting." Grandpa Joe's voice echoed, hoarse and angry. "You're making it worse." His friends' voices joined in, their words jumbled but full of hate. They weren't human anymore, not really. Their eyes had glowed red before, and now they were part of this darkness, just like the creature. I didn't look back. I kept my eyes on the creature, its white gaze pulling at me, like it was trying to drag my soul out. The book's light flared, and I felt the key in my pocket pulse, like it was waking up. I didn't know what it was for now. The door below was already open, but I trusted it, like I trusted the book. The creature lunged, its claws slashing through the air. I ducked, the book's light flaring brighter, pushing it back. The lantern's flame grew, the shard inside glowing like a tiny sun. The creature hissed, its wings flapping, sending a gust of cold wind that nearly knocked me over. I held the book tighter, its pages flipping to a new message. "The anchor holds the light. Strengthen it." I didn't know how, but I remembered the shard, how it burned the shadow when I threw it into the fountain. Maybe the lantern needed more of me. Like the book said about giving my heart, I reached into my pocket, pulling out the key. It was glowing now, golden and warm, like the shard had been. The creature's eyes narrowed, and it lunged again, faster this time. I dodged, stumbling to the altar, and pressed the key against the lantern. The flame roared, golden light flooding the platform, and the creature screamed, its wings catching fire. It fell back, its white eyes dimming, but it didn't stop. The platform shook harder, and I heard Grandpa Joe and his friends reaching the top of the stairs. "She's got the key," Mr. Thompson shouted, his voice twisted with rage. I turned, seeing their faces in the lantern's light. They looked wrong, their skin pale, their eyes flickering red again. Grandpa Joe stepped forward, his hand outstretched. "Give it to us, Lily," he said, his voice soft but dangerous. "You don't understand what you're doing." I shook my head, stepping closer to the lantern. "You hurt me," I said, my voice breaking. "You're not my grandpa anymore." The book's light flared, and the lantern's flame grew brighter, pushing them back. The creature roared, its wings beating, and the platform cracked, pieces of wood falling into the dark below. I didn't know what to do, but the book's pages flipped again, showing a picture of me holding the lantern, standing in a circle of light. The words below said, "The anchor needs your truth. Speak it." I remembered the circle I'd made before, how it protected me, and the words I'd said to fight the shadow. I knelt, tracing a circle around the altar with the key, the golden light spreading. I stood inside it, holding the book and Mr. Flops, and shouted, "I'm not afraid of you. I'm stronger than you think." My voice echoed, louder than before, and the lantern's light exploded, a wave of gold washing over the platform. The creature screamed, its body crumbling like ash, and Grandpa Joe and his friends fell back, clutching their heads. The red crack below dimmed, and the forest's trees glowed again, their light joining mine. For a moment, I thought it was over. The creature was gone, and the men were still, their eyes closed. The lantern's flame was steady, the book's glow warm and calm. I sat by the altar, my legs weak, my heart pounding. The forest hummed softly, like it was singing me to sleep. I felt Mama's presence, her warmth wrapping around me, and I smiled, tears in my eyes. But then the platform shook again, and the lantern's light flickered. The red crack was gone, but a new sound filled the air, a low, rumbling growl, deeper than the creature's, coming from the sky. I looked up, and my heart stopped. The stars were disappearing, swallowed by a darkness that spread like ink. It wasn't the shadow or the creature. It was something else, something bigger, and its voice whispered, cold and sharp, "The light will fade, child." The book's pages fluttered, showing a blank page, the glow dimming. The key in my hand was cold now, like it had given all it could. I stood, my hands shaking, and looked at the lantern. Its flame was small, but it was still there. I didn't know what was coming, but I knew I had to keep going. The book had led me this far, and Mama's voice was still with me. I picked up the lantern, its warmth giving me courage, and looked for a way off the platform. There was a rope ladder hidden behind the altar, leading down to the forest. I climbed down, the book and Mr. Flops tucked under my arm, the lantern in my hand. The forest was quiet now, the trees glow soft but steady. The path led to a river, its water glowing faintly, like the fountain had. I followed it, the lantern's light guiding me. The river was calm, its surface reflecting the stars that were left. I felt safe, like the forest was protecting me again. The book's pages fluttered, showing new words. The river leads to the source. Trust it. I didn't know what the source was, but I kept walking, the lantern's flame steady in my hand. The air was warm, the ground soft, and I felt Mama's presence, like she was walking beside me. I thought of her smile, her stories, and how she'd want me to be brave. The river led to a cave, its entrance carved with symbols like the ones in the book. The lantern's light flared, and I stepped inside, the air cool and damp. The cave was small, with a pool of water in the center, glowing golden like the lantern. The book's pages opened, showing a picture of me placing the lantern in the pool. I hesitated, not wanting to let it go, but I trusted the book. I set the lantern in the water, and its light spread, filling the cave with gold. The pool rippled, and Mama's face appeared, clearer than ever. "You're so close, Lily," she said. Keep going. I smiled, tears streaming down my face. But then the cave shook, and the water turned red, the golden light fading. The darkness from the sky was back, seeping through the cave's roof, and a new figure appeared. Not the shadow, not the creature, but something worse. It was human-shaped but wrong, its body made of smoke and bone, its eyes black and endless. It reached for the lantern, its voice a whisper that froze my heart. "The source is mine," it said. And then the cave collapsed, rocks falling, the water rising, and the lantern's light went out. The cave collapsed around me, rocks crashing down, the water in the pool surging up in waves of red and gold. The figure of smoke and bone loomed over me, its black, endless eyes pulling at my soul like a tide. Its voice was a whisper, sharp and cold, cutting through the chaos. "The source is mine," it said, reaching for the lantern, which flickered weakly in the rising water. I clung to the book and Mr. Flops, my heart pounding, the key in my pocket cold and heavy. The golden light from the pool was fading, Mama's face gone, and the darkness from the sky pressed down, heavy and suffocating. I was trapped, the walls crumbling, the water rising, and this new monster closer than ever. But Mama's words echoed in my head. "You're stronger than you know, Lily." This was it, the final fight. And I wasn't giving up, not after everything. The book's glow was faint, its pages soaked but still fluttering. I opened it, desperate, and saw words glowing through the water. "The source is you. Shine." I didn't understand at first, but the key in my pocket warmed, and the lantern's flame flared, even underwater. The figure hissed, its smoky form recoiling, and I felt a spark inside me, like the light wasn't just in the book or the lantern. It was in me. I stood, my legs shaking, the water up to my knees, and held the lantern high. "You can't have it," I shouted, my voice echoing in the cave. The figure laughed, its eyes flaring, but I didn't back down. I remembered every moment, the attic, the forest, the fountain, the tree, and how I'd kept going, even when I was scared. The figure lunged, its claws slicing through the water, but the lantern's light flared brighter, pushing it back. The book's pages flipped, showing a picture of me standing in a pool of light, the figure crumbling before me. The words below said, "Your heart is the source. Give it." I thought of Mama, her smile, her stories, and how she'd want me to be brave, to protect the light. I pressed the lantern to my chest, right over my heart, and whispered, "This is for you, Mama." The light exploded, golden and warm, filling the cave, pushing back the red water and the darkness. The figure screamed, its smoky body breaking apart, pieces dissolving into the air. The cave stopped shaking, and the rocks stopped falling. The water receded, the pool glowing golden again, brighter than ever. I saw Mama's face in it, smiling, her voice clear. "You did it, Lily. I'm so proud." Tears streamed down my face, but I smiled back, my heart full. The figure was gone, its black eyes faded, and the darkness from the sky was gone too. The cave was quiet, the air warm. Like a summer day, I looked at the book, its pages dry now, glowing softly. The words said, "The light lives in you. Carry it." I didn't need the lantern or the key anymore. I felt the light inside me, strong and steady. I tucked the book under my arm, hugged Mr. Flops, and walked out of the cave. The forest outside was alive again, the trees glowing, their leaves shimmering like stars. The path led me back to the river, then to the field, and finally to the edge of Willow Creek. The town looked different now, quieter, the red glow gone. Grandpa Joe's house was dark, its windows empty, like no one had been there for years that I didn't go back. I couldn't. Whatever Grandpa Joe and his friends had become, they weren't my family anymore. I walked to our old house, the one Mama and I shared. It was still there, the door unlocked, the smell of lavender faint but real. I stepped inside, and it felt like home, even without her. I set the book on the table, its glow soft, like a nightlight. The key was in my pocket, but I didn't need it now. I sat on the couch, hugging Mr. Flops, and felt Mama's presence, like she was sitting with me. The next morning, the sun was bright, the town quiet. I didn't see Grandpa Joe or his friends, and I didn't look for them. The book was still on the table, its glow gone, but I knew it wasn't empty. It had given me what I needed: courage, light, and the truth that I was stronger than I thought. I went to school, saw my friends, and started to rebuild my life, one day at a time. But I never forgot what happened or the lesson it taught me. Even in the darkest moments, you have a light inside you, and no one can take it away if you don't let them. I kept the book, not to open it, but to remember. Sometimes, at night, I'd feel a warmth, like Mama's hug, and I'd know she was still with me. The darkness was gone, but I was ready if it ever came back. I was Lily, and I was strong. But as I lay in bed that night, the house quiet, I heard a faint sound, a whisper. Not Mama's, not the shadows, but something new. It came from the book, its cover glowing faintly, just for a moment. I sat up, my heart racing, and opened it. The pages were blank, except for one line, written in gold. The light is yours, but the dark is patient. I closed the book, my hand steady, and smiled. Whatever came next, I was ready. What a journey Lily's been on, right? Facing monsters, finding her strength, and shining her light through the darkest moments. It's a story that reminds us all to be brave, no matter what. If you've loved following Lily's fight, hit that subscribe button to stay with us for more stories that spark courage and hope. And drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? Your support lights up our world, just like Lily's light. Let's keep the adventure going together.